Thursday, March the 20th. Good morning and a perfect welcome to your perfect day start of the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu. We're live for you in Lagos.
And I'm Jeff Cruz. I want to thank you as always for being part of the program. It's one day before the weekend, and so we're super glad, and I'm sure you're getting ready despite what is going on in the country. Kayode, what have you been tracking?
I've been tracking. It looks like we've had like at least 3 fire incidents. We had yesterday in Nigeria, and you can start from the one around Karo Yanya axis in the nation's capital Abuja to the fire in Kano. Even Ibadan had some sort of fire yesterday as well in the Mile 110 area. I just want to begin from the one that played out in Abuja. I mean, seeing the site, it was really scary, I must say, because when you look at what exactly happened, it paints a very bad picture of what the future may hold if we're not very careful. So it is said that a truck, an articulated vehicle that is used to carry cement, lost control and then hit some vehicles. But that's not really what caused the accident. You see, most of those trucks run on CNG now, Jeffrey. So you'll notice a lot of these articulated trucks just before the carriage, just right in the middle of the vehicle itself. That's the engine, the head, as it were, and the carriage. There's the CNG gas installation. Some of them have 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's what's said to have happened when the truck collided with vehicles, lost control, and then boom, the CNG gas installation, I don't know, was damaged and let out the CNG, and that's how we got here. The police in its report says 6 people have so far died as a result of that sad incident, with 13 vehicles, or 14 actually, not just 13, 14 vehicles burned. So when the gas is out, all it needs is just a little spark.
Just like what happened at Tedola.
Oh, Tedola. Thank you very much. So all it needs is a little spark. And guess what? We have, if not hundreds of those articulated vehicles on the road as I speak to you today.
It's just...
So, I mean, you should have seen the sights, Jeffrey.
Just a very... Look at that. And people are that close.
People... So, that's the second part. People, as usual, went close to start filming. But you know that once an explosion happens, particularly because it's gas, there's always secondary, tertiary, and further explosions. In fact, in one of the videos, you could see a secondary explosion. The user, that's the person recording, lost the phone. The phone fell immediately because people had to run for their dear lives. Of course, traffic tailing back, but it's a lot. And I think we need to speak to safety when it comes to these articulated vehicles running on CNG.
I've always said that when it comes to gas, don't run, fly. If it's possible for you to do so, literally fly out of that place if you can, because PMS is a joke compared to gas because of how quickly it travels and how it's looking for anything to just spark the fire. But we hope and pray that we will learn someday. This one has nothing to do with President Bola Tinubu or the governor of your state or the local government chairman. It's just personal responsibility. Take personal responsibility for your safety. You're not a firefighter, you're not a safety fighter. Please do not go near. Run away. Do not film. This is not content creation time. Else you may become the content at the end of the day. So please, let's be careful. Let's be cautious. Let's be as smart as possible, because there is no duplicate to life. If you're gone, you're gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So if this is an avoidable situation, please, please, and please, we want to beg fellow citizens, please do not stay near explosion or explosives like this. Run away. The people that are trained, that have the expertise to know how to contain it, will be there to do their work. So please, I don't know what else to say. Just be careful. And then Kayode, yesterday, because the politics in Rivers State is still raging, and yesterday the AGF made some statement, and I was just squirming, I was just shaking my head. I saw him trying to make logic, but I didn't see anything legal in what he was explaining. There's no provision. State of emergency, I can understand if the president is trying to avert the situation, because you don't need it to deteriorate and degenerate. before he now declared state of emergency. So those who argue for and against that is really not my thing. I'm not even interested in the politics, but I was a bit worried to see the chief law officer defending what literally is not defendable. It has nothing to do with anything. In fact, a lawyer once said that for the fact that former President Obasanjo did it was executive recklessness. There is nothing in our constitution, nothing, that says in declaring that state of emergency you must remove a governor. There's nothing. I've looked through the law, I've asked questions, there are so many interventions. Perhaps, Kyle, I'm thinking the reason why the Constitution is very clear in removing elected officials, state governor, deputy, House of Assembly members, is because they are elected and they're the representative of the people. And so if you look at section 14, subsection 2A of the Constitution, so it says sovereignty belongs to the people. For you to tamper with people's sovereignty, it has to be an extreme measure. And the Constitution is very clear. So when I heard him trying to defend it, I even saying he will even send him a message that it's going to be a deterrent to other governors or other members of the House of Assembly. I even saying that perhaps his nuances perhaps suggest that if it can even be stiffer. That is the chief law officer of Nigeria, a respected chief law officer of Nigeria. So this is the problem with being in position of authority. So if you're the president, like I'm the president, I don't want to be president, the idea that what I do is right because I'm the president is always there, because I've been able to attain that. Now he's the chief law officer of the state, of the country, so the assumption that he's the one that knows the law the most is there. But it's not true. The law is there. I have asked questions, I have looked through the law and all of this. There is nothing that enables you, the president, anyone, to remove a governor, his deputy, the House of Assembly, the people's representative, declaring a state of emergency. That's another argument altogether. So I do not know what advice, I do not know what they are relying on. So as I said,
I think we know the advice the president gets. So that's why he made that decision.
Yeah.
And I think it's the precedence that he sets. He says it might be a deterrent, but it sets a very tricky precedent. Because
you cannot.
Any president can wake up today
and give one excuse.
I see that the situation in this
is going to deteriorate. And he take out the governor. But the suspension is an aberration to our law.
Yeah.
A whole 2 arms of government uprooted by a pronouncement. The sole administrator that is taking oath, what are you taking oath on as what? It's a very tricky situation.
That's the thing about power,
this is why we are checking it. Today is River State, it could be another state. There is no legal sense in my view. And I see people who perhaps are beneficiaries of all of this trying to you can't defend what is indefensible.
Also, the law does not specifically state what he can't do, but you know what? That is where we're starting.
That latitude.
Exactly.
That latitude, what I believe is the fact that when it comes to constitution and removing people, that's why the constitution is clear.
And that's
so you can't make, the latitude of discretion, you must limit it.
And that's what we're starting off with this morning, as you can tell, the Rivers situation, where the political drama seems to unfold with new dimensions, and I kid you not, every day. There are new dimensions every, let me say every blessed day, because it shouldn't change the fact that
River State is a PhD course.
Come on. And we'll be taking a look at the issues, and we're joined by prominent activists and leaders like Omola Iliyelu Showore, NLB, Rosemary John Odone. So I bet you it promises to be an all-encompassing discussion today.
Well, it is not just River State we'll be talking. Well, the sole administrator has taken his oath. Is it Vice Admiral now? Yeah, I wanted to be sure of the position. I'm familiar with the Army one. Well, we'll head to Ebonyi State to find out exactly what the state is doing to restore peace and good governance. We had a conversation not long ago with Ebonyi State as far as their diaspora connection is concerned. Now, let's talk about what governance is in Ebonyi State.
But that's not all on the show this morning. We're promoting dental hygiene. Yeah, we all know it, we all talk about it, but let's bring it to the forefront. This morning, many people take care of their dental health, or they take it for granted rather, until something serious happens. So today we'll be speaking with a dentist to get all the tips and expert advice which you need to promote proper dental hygiene.
All right, Bukola, you have the next one, right? Okay.
Yes. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Kadi. Good morning. Welcome to your Perfect Morning Starter. By the way, I'm Bukola Koka. And of course, this last one is on art, but with a twist. Women in art will look at their impact in this space and the opportunities that they have created for themselves and the upcoming generation. Mariam Megida, a renowned visual artist and president of the Female Artists Association of Nigeria, joins us on your Perfect Morning Starter.
Okay, so those are the things we'll be talking about today on the program. So stay with us and have as much fun as you can. Of course, we'll also tell you that the email address, not the WhatsApp now, so we'll check out on the WhatsApp later. The post on X, CTV Morning Brief, is the hashtag you can talk to us on, and we'll get to hear what you have to say. But let's move on now to the dailies.
Oh, yes.
And I think I want to start with the Blueprint newspaper.
There you go.
Because it has a different headline.
Something different from what we all know.
We have been inundated with River State. Like, we need a day break.
Even the Blueprint is protesting and saying, we need a break.
We need a break from River State. All right, Blueprint, a death toll in Kebbi meningitis outbreak rises to 56. This is also a very, 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 very serious issue. You know, the politics of River State has literally overshadowed every other thing going on in the country. Things are happening we really do not know. But so the Blueprint is bringing our attention to the effect that that disease called meningitis is taking lives in Kebbi State. FG has dispatched about 3,000 doses of the vaccine. So you can get to the pages of the Blueprint, I think to page 8, and do your bit in reading it and find out exactly what it is. Guys.
That's a big picture there as well that shows the FCT minister, but it has nothing to do with River State politics. This is about the compensation and resettlement issues in a community in the nation's capital, Abuja. But take a look at the Guardian newspaper. Of course, the story about the Rivers politics is also there, but the Guardian also leads with something different from River State politics. And it's on the Naira for crude deal, which appears stalled now. And you see, imminent end to subsidize petrol as FX, PMS face major disruption. And you see the pictures on the front page, quite interesting. You see the picture of the
chairman and
CEO, and then you see the chairman of Aliko Dangote group of companies right there. So what does this say? Well, Dangote refineries have put up a statement yesterday saying that, well, they have to start pricing their petroleum products or not in Naira anymore, because they're not getting crude in Naira. So in order to balance things, they're also pricing petroleum products in dollars or what have you. So clearly, gentlemen and ladies, it means that you should be expecting a turnaround in the price of petrol.
A turnaround maintenance.
An increase in the pump price of petrol.
You said it. It's what it is, what it looks like right now. But that's the big story, and it raises lots of concerns. There are different angles people are looking at this from. But we just wanted to bring that to your notice, just to be expectant if nothing happens.
And unlike Guardian and Blueprint, News Direct goes to Rivers for its big story. And listen to this. FG backs emergency rule, says Tinubu's declaration timely to avoid Rivers collapse. And there are a few riders this morning. Listen to them. Swezin Ibas, that's the Vice Admiral as Rivers Sole Administrator, maintaining law and order, my utmost task. Well, we saw the Vice Admiral speaking yesterday. It says it's in the interest of the Rivers people and the nation at large. And then Senate President postpones debate on Rivers state of emergency. And Fubara's suspension undemocratic and unconstitutional. That's ascribed to, I believe, former Governor Rotimi Amici. And, you know, listening to the Attorney General yesterday, I didn't quite catch him justifying the action based on the law. He didn't quite say it's legitimate, but he was justifying it based on, three outlined reasons. The Supreme Court verdict that blamed the governor for the destruction of the State Assembly, the inability of, the governor to rein in on the situation, and security concerns. And, you wouldn't blame him. He's an employee of the federal government, so he has no other duty but to defend the action of the federal government. Whether that is in line with the law, Whether it's right or wrong, that's a matter that the jury is still out on. But that the Attorney General of the Federation doesn't know the law, I believe he's absolutely, aware of what the law says, but he has to be in denial at this point in time.
He's a very brilliant man. We can't deny that. Yeah, I'm sure he knows the law, but how he's interpreting it is a different kettle of fish.
Can we also say that this is the decision of the federal government just yet? Because it's just the executive arm that made that pronouncement. The legislature
that is why
has not given.
Yes, that is why we're raising this now.
But the president has already sworn in.
No. But the National Assembly has to ratify. They have today to give force to what he has done. Either say, go ahead, Mr. President, or no, go ahead. So if they vote against what he has done, that ends
But Jeffrey, the question is, why would the president go ahead to swearing the vice admiral?
No, I don't think he's doing anything wrong.
The National Assembly giving force to the declaration.
They say he can publish, he can gazette, and forward to the National Assembly. So to that extent, perhaps is a reason. But whether the man has gone...
Don't forget that there are military men already in River State, even as we speak.
I understand that. For some people have said that is what should have been done. Militarize the entire space as much as you can, but taking out democratic structures is unconstitutional.
And that's why we're waiting for the National Assembly.
Okay, that's why we're waiting for the National... If the National Assembly endorses this, then then let's look at what Nigeria says. Well, President Bola Tinubu has sworn in the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Bokete Ekwe Abbas.
Who's retired, by the way.
He's retired. He was in the set of Tuka Burutai, I think.
Buhari government.
So let's hear what the people are saying. Your thoughts on X? He says, Stephen Osemwe says, lawless is fostered upon Nigeria. I guess he wanted to say lawlessness. And the good people of River State. Both the houses of the National Assembly has not had their votes on the issue, and the president has gone ahead to swear in the new military no, it's not a military administrator, please. It's a sole administrator. Don't scare us.
There's even no more in the military.
As against the wishes of Rivers people and the spirit of the Nigerian Constitution, we are now fully in a dictatorship in Nigeria. Guys, you have the next one.
Mr. Day is the next user this morning who says the reckless attitude of governors must stop. The legislature, I believe you mean to say, is an arm of government and must be allowed to perform their function. Former Governor Obaseki did the same until his tenure expired. The same hammer should bang on governors that relegate local government areas. If you don't like Tinubu, vote him out in 2027. That's as frank can get.
Because, as I said, the Constitution is very clear. Either you vote him out, impeach him, or whatever. It is constitutional to impeach someone who has been reckless if the House of Assembly, in their opinion, believe it's been. Not anyone else. The Constitution guarantees only the House of Assembly.
Seems to be saying the obvious here. By the way, it looked like impeachment was imminent anyway.
Yes, of course.
And it will have been quite, I don't want to say, it may have been violent. So maybe this was a much more lesser evil in that sense. But don't worry, we'll get into all of that. But Hassan says all these things are not a coincidence. It looks like Hassan is saying the obvious this morning. It says the installation of a former military figure in River State, the release of Rivers allocations, and his presence in Aso Rock to receive instructions, well, to take the oath. But of course, yeah, at the end of the day, it's clear that this is all about the Rivers Treasury. So Rivers Treasury, or the fact that Rivers bears oil wealth.
And that's why my thinking
is both. So for me, like you said, there's a good point in what you made. If they impeach the governor and there's escalation, it could degenerate. That is very true. It could even go intense. But in correcting that, you must correct it within the law. That's what we're saying.
And
do you understand? It has to be within the confines. What we're talking about is the law here. It has nothing to do with politicians. Years on weekend, the governor they'll continue to do whatever they love or they like to do. That's a different kettle of fish. You understand?
That's why my concern is whether or not, this hurried swearing in of the Vice Admiral without the proclamation of the National Assembly giving force to the declaration of a state of emergency is constitutional in the first place. It seems as if, well, I've gone ahead to do it. The National Assembly's approval is merely perfunctory, and it doesn't give it, whether or not they proclaim it. Yeah. I've gone ahead to take the decision.
The National Assembly now
so how does this impact on democratic values? And Kadi talked about precedent earlier on. It seems a dangerous precedent, for other presidents in the future.
So that's why now,
without consequence,
everybody's now looking at the National Assembly. Whatever they do is their choice. You and I and every Nigerian can only say, some will say the president is right, some will say he is not right, but we have looked at the law. We can't find where he is right on this. Suspending democratic institution, state of emergency, we can agree to that effect. So the National Assembly that has the power,
who are the lawmakers.
They are the lawmakers, the people's people, is their job now. The best we can do is talk. We'll take a quick break. When we'll come back, the guests will break it down for us even further. Join us again.
As you can see, we're joined by the presidential candidate of African Action Congress in the 2023 election, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, is live with us in our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the morning brief, Mr. Sowore.
Thank you for bringing me.
You had put up a tweet. I was just going through your tweets just 19 hours ago. You said that Tinubu is poised to inadvertently hasten the revolution, moving seamlessly from one era to another. Mr. Sowore, this latest one, the declaration of a state of emergency, the suspension of the governor and the state assembly, it's been described by some as lesser evil of what may have happened if the impeachment proceedings had gone through. But some have said, let's even go back to the beginning. This started off because two men, his godfather, said godfather, and a godson maybe sat in a room, had a discussion, had an agreement, and things fell out, and the whole nation is now at the receiving end of this. Which of the ends do you take it from? The beginning, the end, or the whole thing?
Well, I take it from the means, I take it from the end, and how it's likely going to end. That is why you referenced my tweet. To be clear, I'm not here to defend the godfather or the godson. I do not care about them. I actually had stated when the crisis started that I hope they destroy themselves, because these guys are mostly enablers of evil in the land, but it is important to state here that we are seeing impunity rear its head in the most ugliest fashion. When a president of a country can sacrifice a whole state, one of Nigeria's richest and most prominent states, on the altar of political convenience for a godfather that's his friend, and you can understand why they're doing that. It is because the godfather, I'm talking about Nyeso Wike, FCT minister, helped the current regime, the current president, to do some election abracadabra in Rivers State that helped him to become the president of Nigeria. And they're already looking beyond today. They're looking at how to handle the next election cycle. That is where all this is coming from. And then you see that every process that led to this was aimed at consolidating power for the godfather. And what I find despicable and unacceptable is that you can wake up and predict that certain people will do some crazy stuff in this country, and it will come to pass, that they will just say, look, we don't care about you, we don't care about your institutions, we don't care about democracy. We will just remove a guy who refused to play ball with us by surrendering the state treasury, I would imagine. And they'll do that. And then we wake up the next day and they expect us to move on. That is why I put up that tweet, that there's just so much anger in the land. And for some reason, I'm happy that they are pouring gasoline on the situation so that maybe Nigerians can wake up and do the needful.
Mr. Sowore, why would you be happy that's in quotes, they're pouring gasoline. Do you thrive or enjoy mayhem in that sense? Your mien is calm this morning. So why are you enjoying the gasoline being poured? I imagine that you'll be calling for peace.
Well, there cannot be peace without justice. I'm not calling for mayhem. They are the ones who have introduced mayhem into the polity. I'm not the one who woke up yesterday and decided that a governor, whether democratically elected or selected, he's the governor of the state, should be removed. And a sole administrator is put in place immediately. And they can't even wait for the National Assembly, which I consider to be, pardon my word, useless, to take a position on the matter. And they went straight to what they wanted, that is to release the allocation of the state to a person who is illegitimate, who has not been voted for by people of Rivers State. And that's the first pronouncement they made, and now we can release the money to you. Initially, the Supreme Court said, we are stopping allocation until you resolve certain democratic principles. But now we've moved from those democratic principles to total lack of democracy. And we're going to, whomever is thinking that National Assembly is going to come back and say, well, we disagree with this, I have a bridge to sell to you. Nothing is going to happen. The National Assembly is not even as, it has no say in this. They're just waiting for them to wrap up. I think they're waiting for the numbers. Even if they don't get up to the numbers they want, they will give you some justification, and this is fait accompli for Nigerian people. But to come back to your question about why I'm happy because maybe this is going to force Nigerians across the country to wake up. I think they have been too complacent, they've been too quiet, they've been too docile. Maybe it's as a result of cowardice. And more people are saying that there's need for everybody to join hands together and liberate this country, because we can't just keep believing that this country will make progress when, as a matter of fact, those who are expected to bring progress are completely anti-progress. They are moving in the opposite direction of what ought to be their role in our society. So that's why I'm happy that, maybe this will force Nigerians to complete the 30 days challenge and move on to where they should be. There should be complete revolt. And that is not me saying that I love anarchy. I'm saying that I love justice. And justice cannot be a piece of the graveyard in Nigeria.
Mr. Shore, so the argument of the Attorney General yesterday, which I would like you to speak to, because sometimes, depending on who you're listening to, people pull up strawman argument, which is that fallacy of strawman argument to put their position out and logically try to win their own, maybe their own audience, or have a premise to defend what they've done in terms of their decision. So the dramatic personnel here is saying is the governor and the members of the House of Assembly who have refused to come together to sort themselves out. So their argument is to the effect that when the dramatic personnel are those that should bring peace and stability and even call for a state of emergency are the ones at the forefront of the crisis. What should they do? We can argue about law, but that is their logic. What do you say to that?
Well, I think Nigeria has had a crisis of attorney generals enabling impunity and illegality. One of the biggest crises I ever faced this country was the annulment of the June 12 election. It came from an advice, or series of advice, given by Attorney General. Each time there is some kind of crisis bedeviling this country, some kind of impunity, draconian laws, and some kind of dictatorship that stands in the way of logic, the person that you see quickly is the Attorney General of the Federation. Maybe we should start looking at that very evil office. And it doesn't matter who the person is, the moment they become the Attorney General, they could be sensible, logical, they could be brilliant, or some kind of toga of impunity is what they wear, and they rub it on the face of the Nigerian people. How can the Attorney General come out and say this is right when we all know that this is a terrible, terrible mistake made by the president or whomever decided on this? Because I don't think would Nigeria know who is the president of their country. It depends on what they want. As of now, it looks like the person who's president is the FCT minister. So maybe there's a rotational presidency depending on interest. But the Attorney General was wrong. I'm sure he knew he was wrong, but do they care? Who cares? They don't care about you. They will do it, get away with it, and they know you will move on. And they too have moved on as we speak. So I'm just hoping that Nigerians will not let this slide, and several other infractions and infringements on their fundamental rights.
Mr. Shore, I hope that...
They will not let things just slide this time around.
Okay,
but,
I hope that when you say you're not...
Nigerians,
just a moment,
probably have moved on already.
Just a moment. I hope when you say you will not let... Nigeria should not let this slide, you are not calling for anarchy. Because whatever we do, we have to do it within the confines of the law.
I don't know why you're gaslighting me with anarchy. What just happened is anarchy in Rivers State. Somebody just imposed his friend on a state that have elected officials. They've sent soldiers down there, they've driven out the governor. That's anarchy. So why are you gaslighting me with anarchy? If there's anarchy, it is the one that the federal government imposed on Rivers State. The response of the people is not something you should use to gaslight people like me. I don't care about labels. If they are the ones calling for anarchy and they get it, so be it.
Well, evidence doesn't suggest that they are calling for anarchy or that they have subscribed to anarchy.
They just imposed anarchy. They just imposed a state of lawlessness.
Their interpretation of the Constitution may be debatable.
Every conversation you've had this morning points to the fact that what they're doing is wrong and is lawless. That is what they call anarchy, not what we are discussing here.
All right, Mr. Shore, the jury is out there, but you know your activism is not in doubt. And in recent days, in fact, in the last 48 hours, you have taken up the case of the youth corps member who complained, about inflation and the challenges of the economy as it affects her. And we saw you, escort her to the local government. Prior to that time, we also saw that you had an altercation with, security agents in court. You talked about it on the media about, how your passports have been seized. And with reference to your recent tweets that my colleague made reference to earlier on, I'm just wondering, if your comments are, eliciting the inevitability of what you consider a revolt, aren't you worried about another run-in with authorities reminiscent of the immediate past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, where you were charged for treason, and the subsequent events that elicited global attention? Are you ready for another round of court trips and the attendant consequences that come with it?
No, I'm not. There's nothing I've not been charged with in this country. I've been charged with offenses as small as breach of peace, and I've been charged with treason, which carries death penalties. So you can't scare me with that. That's not the issue. The issue here is about the liberation of Nigerian people. It's about the future of this country. There are persons who are in government today who themselves barely escaped being charged with treason. I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu was once charged with treason, or an attempt was made to him to be charged for treason. So he's president today. So, and I have a lot of charges against me. Some of them I don't even know. They're probably drafting some as we speak, but that should not deter us from doing what we are here to do, which is fixing our own country and liberating our people. So treason, no, they have my passport seized. They have judges that are assigned to my cases especially to ensure that I don't get justice in this country whenever I go into the courtroom. But I go into the courtroom regardless, and ensure that I do what needs to be done. My goal is not to be distracted by these charges or threat of charges. Our goal is to have a country that we can call our own. And that's more important than all the charges put together. They will be defeated even in court again. So I spent 5 years with Buhari. Where's Buhari today? So maximum I'll spend as long as these ones are there. But I don't even think that they will last long if they continue on this trajectory. You know, it is very obvious that something will have to give at some point, very soon.
Well, I think we all recognize that there is a challenge that needs to be fixed, and not just Rivers State, nationally as well. Well, I hope we all recognize it, but at least on this side of the conversation, in this room where you are, we recognize that there are challenges, and we're speaking to these challenges. And I've seen time and again on and off social media, people trying to figure you out. They see your activism, they see your passion for the country. They see your Revolution Now movement, and they always wonder, is this guy true? Or is it too good to be true? Or is he plausible? I'm sure you've seen some of those comments, people wondering, is he a mole? This man doesn't, it looks like it's too good to be true. So I want us to do some hypothetical scenario right now, because you've run for president time and again. If you are in that seat, let's imagine for a moment, and you were confronted with the challenges. First, let's talk about the Rivers scenario. Now, the president had intervened, the courts had intervened as well. If you were to be president now, what decision would you have made that would have been different? Let's just hypothetically paint that scenario, Mr. Shore.
You know, I don't deal with hypotheses anymore. I am not going to be a president of Nigeria where you would have gone to have a Rivers State situation that we have on our hands now. In the first place, as president of Nigeria, you're supposed to wake up in the morning and go to work for the Nigerian people. But when you go to work for special interests, you will have more than the Rivers State issue. And to address your issue about whether I'm good to be true or not, I hate to say this on TV all the time, that if you have something contrary to what I am, who I am, I don't think it's such a difficult thing for you guys in the media to throw it out there, because I have been around for 33 solid years. Nigeria itself has been around for maybe 65 years. I've taken up half of that in my lifetime, fighting for what is just, what is right, and ensuring that people get a fair share of what belongs to them, both from, you know, the Niger Delta region where this crisis is taking place to people in Zamfara, Kano. But it's important that I do not engage in hypotheses with you. It is not necessary for me to keep defending my integrity on TV when, as a matter of fact, you all promote people without integrity every day. You support them, you hide them, you shield them. And that's why this country is in a mess. And you ask the good people of Nigeria to come and defend why they are good. And you ask the bad people not to show up, or to show up with lies and deception every day. And that's why the country is in a mess. But I'm here very clear-headed, you know, with a very clean position on how this country should be fixed. And I do not think that a president who legitimately runs a country should be running the country down and chasing the people off the cliff. And that is what subsequent regimes, successive regimes have done in Nigeria. And to let you know that I'm not just a spring chicken here, I have gone through almost 10 presidents now in my lifetime, starting from Babangida, who all of you were promoting for launching a criminal book a few days ago, to the man there now, who all of us, you know, reportedly fought for democracy together. But it's very clear who was fighting for democracy then and who wasn't fighting for democracy now. So, but hey, before I came on board, you know, I've had forebears who were treated the same way. Gani was hounded. Gani Fahmy was hounded in this country. They said he's a liar, he's not who he claimed he is. He was troublesome, he was, you know, self-promoting. Fela was given the same treatment. Everybody who has done good in this country has been paid back with evil. But I'm not here looking for validation. I'm looking for a country in which I deserve to live in freedom and
Well,
not
Mr.
for my
Shora,
passport to be seized, for my
your
nose to be
point's
broken
taken
off,
indeed, but
I
I'd like to
questioning
think
my
that
integrity because I said we should do right.
Right. I like to think that you're not at least parrying my question. And by the way, we are journalists. We report what happens, whether good, bad, and
I'm a
ugly.
journalist too,
Just
even
pardon
though
me,
you can
Mr.
refer to me
Shore.
as
I'm trying to put my question in.
I might be
Thank you.
less journalist than you are, but I know nuances
No.
when I hear
So
them.
the point here is we report what happens. You also reported the same event. So whether it's good, it's bad, our job is to report it and get people's views. And that's where we're having this conversation with you. And my question is quite simple. You've run for president, and I imagine you've done a lot of scenario planning. I imagine that you know the law. And I imagine you see things happen in this country, and you maybe have alternative solutions to them, better than what you think this government is doing. So my question is, what should have been done differently? And I think this presents Nigerian people, the government as well, if we say we want to fix Nigeria, with data. Oh, you're not doing it right. This is the way you could have done it. And that's what my question is, as simple as that. What should have been done differently?
What we should have done differently, and I hope you listen to me and Nigerians are listening, is not to vote for terrible people or allow terrible people to become president in our country, because the consequences are upon you every minute. That is also a simple answer. And the alternative is there. I'm an alternative. I have presented an alternative manifesto, an alternative scenario. And I've told you, even before you rephrased this question, that I wouldn't have been a president who worked for special interests. I would have been a president who worked for Nigerian people. And I hope you're watching and listening. And I hope you continue to provide platforms that allow good people to shine and not terrible people, because part of how you created all these Frankenstein monsters is that you go to their houses and do press conferences with them live to lie to the Nigerian people, and the people who have something alternative to say, even the media don't give them the coverage. I'm not referring to you alone. I'm talking about how even all of us within the mainstream media have treated good as opposed to elevating bad.
All right, Mr. Shore, well, we're just doing our job, just like you were doing your job. We're doing our job. Good, bad, and ugly is our job to report everybody. Report the event, right. Report the persons, cover as much as you can, which is what you did at a very, very high level before you left to pursue your ambition of being president. So let's begin to coast home on this particular issue. So in your view, two questions in one, if you can. What is the way forward? But that's one question on the conundrum we're seeing that is playing out in Rivers State. At least a solution that can bring peace, because at the end of the day, we can argue about Wike, the FCT minister, the action of the president, whether Fubara was reckless, according to some people, or not. We can put up all that debate. What is important is the people of Rivers State are the ones suffering right now. So in your books, where you sit, what is the way forward at the end of the day? Because solution is what everybody is speaking to right now.
Yes, let me make a clarification once again that I'm not here to defend Fubara. Fubara is also an enabler of evil. If Fubara hadn't existed under Wike, Wike would not have gotten away with some of the crimes that he got away with, stealing money in Rivers State. That's very clear. Fubara was declared wanted for stealing billions before he was packaged to become the governor of Rivers State. This is part of the results that we're seeing. They're the ones who enabled Wike. I'm speaking on behalf of due process. I'm speaking on, on the side of the people of Rivers State, whose resources have been hijacked by sole administrator, by these Abuja cabals. So that's what I am. But in terms of solution, my solution is very simple. The people of this country must gather their arms together, hold it tight, and liberate themselves by all means necessary. It is very clear that this will be going through these circles of, mismanagement of our resources, of our integrity, of oppression, if we don't do something about it. And probably that is why you noted that I've been very calm this morning, because maybe if I change my demeanor, more people can understand that I'm not just angry, but I want this country to really, really prosper and be peaceful and make progress, just like even some of our small African countries are doing. I saw last week there are 10 top African countries that are doing well in terms of economic development and making democratic progress. Nigeria is not one of them. Seychelles, one of these small islands, is one of them. Mauritius is one of them. South Africa is there. These are countries that we used to assist, with handouts some 30, 40 years ago. They're doing better than we do, and that's what concerns me. And we're not going to be talking about solutions in a roundabout manner, what is called roundaboutism. It's not the solution they provide, the solution we want that we should continue to provide, no matter how hard it is to hear it. We need to have a revolution in this country. Thank you.
Mr. Omoyele Sowore, 2023 presidential candidate of the AAC, thank you for your time on the program.
Thanks for bringing me.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we have more perspectives for you on Rivers' situation and how it affects the laws of the land, the people, and the future as well. That's in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. And River State is still very much on our minds this morning. Although people are going about their businesses as normal, it appears there's an uneasy calm, particularly with the voices coming through from River State, voices of disaffection. So what's the way forward as we continue to ask? Joining us on this segment is Ms. NLB. She's a former country director, Action Aid Nigeria, and human rights activist. She joins us from our Abuja studio. And right beside her there in Abuja studio also is Rosemary John Oduone. She's the founder, pioneer, president, Ijaw Women Connect IWC Worldwide. Ladies, thank you so much for coming through on this segment. And I'm going to start with you, Madam Obi. What seems to be resounding the most from conversations in the last 48 hours has been the role or otherwise of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in this particular matter. If you heard the Attorney General speaking yesterday, he said there's no way from court proceedings and judgments that he has been found culpable, and as such the president couldn't have named him in his broadcast, and there couldn't have been any punitive measure meted out on him. What are your thoughts on this?
I think if I hear correctly, the current, whatever is happening in Rivers now is something that we have been talking about, is a situation that should have been averted, because if the president can step in directly now and is declaring a state of emergency, and we are all sitting, for many of us who really suffered and worked hard, during the military to make sure that we have a democracy, which eventually we have gotten. The political class is really, whether they're misunderstanding or misruling or what should we say now, when you hear people talking about military rule, everybody's eyes go up. And now you are more or less introducing military rule. And we cannot tell the president, we cannot say the president has committed treason. But when young people go and stage a demonstration and they are holding a flag, you say they have they have committed treason. And so there is a lot that is going on, in the Rivers environment. Declaring a military rule, these are constitutional breaches, and I think the NBA and many others, very senior, respected legal luminaries have commented on it. So, but as someone who has worked for democracy, who has struggled for social justice here in Nigeria, I think I find it very disappointing and shocking that we're letting these issues, petty issues that should have been resolved. And it's really, really sad to see what is going on, that Fubara, who is a constitutionally, elected, governor of Rivers State, is today under house arrest. For what? and elected people. So whatever they have done is highly unconstitutional. And we can't turn the law around because we are having the executive arm of the government doing its own now. And I'm happy that we still have the National Assembly, which is set to look at what President Tinubu has done. But I think what he has done is a disaster to democracy. And that he has the people that are in the context that we're talking about. You have the FCT minister, who is doing quite well now in terms of the road infrastructure and some of the things he's doing, in FCT, and should concentrate here. I don't know what is his business with Rivers again, because you are having, when they are talking about the assembly, they are talking of the, pro-Wike. What is pro-Wike again? Wike has left Rivers State and should stay clear of Rivers State and let Fubara do his job. A lot of people will make, will say, yes, this person has been brought by Wike. Somebody brought Wike himself into politics. And that is the way the world goes. You influence people, you build leadership, because the quality of a good leader is replicating leaders. By building more leaders, by bringing in more people, and you teach them to learn because you were taught. You learn from the people. And so when we are talking about who handles what now, you lead and let lead. Others will lead. And, I always say that people should look at life, what it is. Life is an opportunity. You do your bit and you move on. And others will do their own bit. Because if you start dealing with, because what is going on now is affecting the leadership. There were the issues of local government election, and what we're talking about when we're looking at Ward Fubara. Even it was shocking to me when they went into when the judgment came from the court, and they said he should accept all the leaders, of the pro-Wike group leaders or the lawmakers and all of that. And the guy went and obeyed. I was shocked about his humility towards that. And he said, let me do that. And now, let us serve. The politicians have forgotten the people. The people are suffering. And you have decided to walk off. And the next thing we are having now is that you declare a state of emergency. We have had states of emergencies in Borno, Yobe, different places where you have a lot of things going on ground. But what has been done is nothing near what you're saying. They declared, even when we had the militants, at the heat of militants with, President, our, beloved President Yaradua of blessed memory, he decided to go and talk with the youth and was able to restore peace. With the militants, so many of them are graduates and master's holders today. They were able to resolve the issue. Are you not able to resolve the issue? If we can't, so we say, so you are now telling us there is an alternative, and that alternative is military rule, because the person you have brought is from the military.
Let's expand.
And so are you still afraid?
Now.
One day you wake up and they declared state of emergency for you. What are you going to feel?
Your points have come through. Let's expand the conversation now. But before that, let's just establish that a military rule has not been declared in Rivers State. What we have is a sole administrator who has been sworn in, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas. Also, there's no evidence to the effect that the governor of Rivers State, Simlai Fubara, is under house arrest. We don't have anything to prove that as at this time. But let me come to you, Madam Odone. The president, in his speech, had quoted, and I'll just read through, the latest security reports made available to me show that between yesterday and today, there have been disturbing incidents of vandalization of pipelines by some militants without the governor taking any action to curtail them. Also, the Attorney General of the Federation, in his press conference yesterday, spoke to this. I'd like you to address this. Is there anything that suggests that the governor had been lethargic about vandalism of pipelines prior to the declaration of the state of emergency?
Okay, thank you, Buki. Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, viewers. I will just take you back to the FCT minister media chat on the 12th of this very month, March, where he said the job people do not have monopoly of blowing up pipelines. He said the Queries, the Ogonis, and even he mentioned Akwa Ibom people, Calabar people can blow up pipelines. And if we look at the location where that pipeline vandalization went up, it's Gokana. And Gokana is not Ijaw territory, it's Ogoni. So we don't know how they are linking it, the president and the attorney general, linking what has happened in a different location to Ijaw territories and to militancy. So if somebody was, open to say everybody has monopoly of doing this, so it's clearly orchestrated. It was just already pre-planned for them to take action so that it will look like, yes, the Ijaw people known for militancy and all those things are the people responsible. We are their investigation to ascertain if it was actually Ijaw people who blew up the pipeline. So all these are fallacies. They are all fallacious statements that are coming from, people that think they have they hold the knife in one hand and also hold the yam in the other hand. Wherever they cut it to cook, that is how people will see it to eat of it. So it's all just boiled down to telling us that this issue happening in Rivers State, before it started, people knew. Let me take you back to 2023 when it all started. The declaration we saw yesterday has always been mandated that it will come to be. There is a Supreme Court judgment. Has it been implemented? The House of Assembly has written letters of misconduct. Given that, did any investigation take place? No. Then within 48 hours of the letters from the House of Assembly, the president is coming to make declaration of a state of emergency. How did we arrive at that is what we don't know. So if it is not something that has been planned, and okay, also look at how the constitution of the sole administrator, what is the constitution? How did we arrive there? And how will you want to appoint somebody, why not bring in somebody from within the state? You went as far as bringing somebody from a sister state to come and govern a state that you perceive that is having political crisis. All what is happening in Rivers State is political crisis between the FCT minister and the Governor Sim Fubara-led administration. This is a clear statement that we all know that is happening in this country. So they're fairly ignorant to say that people are blind. The president hosted the Pan-Niger Delta Forum on the 11th. And before that forum went in, they were kept hostage. If I will put it hostage, because if you had invited senior elders, traditional rulers with all their regalia seated for over 2 hours, that is hostage taking. And at the end, he was in the confer with Minister Wike and the Senate President. And by the time they entered for the meeting, the Senate President nor the minister attended, but the other ministers from the regions were all in attendance. The Minister for Petroleum attended, the Minister for Aviation attended, but FCT Minister and the Senate President, who were earlier with the President, they didn't attend. And immediately after this panel visit to the President, all this confusion started. So we already know that it was something that has been planned to rubbish the region. And then Wike coming out to the media on the 12th to rubbish PANDEF, an organization that stood for him. To the extent he will mention the name of Pat Clark, somebody who fought for him when he was made minister. And the people in Abuja rejected him. That is not an indigene, he's not a northerner. This same Pat Clark today that Wike is insulting, Pat Clark stood for him, fought for him, and told everybody that is legitimately right for them to take anybody. FCT is for everybody. So you can see that Wike is somebody that cannot be helped. Everybody that has helped Wike, he will come back to betray them. It's a non-betrayer. And today he thinks that it's all about him. He likes power. We have known that from time. If we go back to history, see when he was campaigning for presidential ticket, he was begging them in Bauchi State, give me power, give me power,
I'd like
give me
us
power.
to stay
on. We know that
if you can hear me, Miss Rosemary,
you cannot say that because you bring Fubara should be at your mercy. When Jonathan and Patient brought you, you are at the mercy of Jonathan and Ebifaka.
All right.
So let us tell PK the truth and let him hear. I'll let the world hear.
Right. So your points are taken. Your points are taken, and it would have been great if we had the FCT minister to speak to some of the things you raised as well. And it's important to air these views. I appreciate that. But when you said that the president and the attorney general linked the explosion to Ijaw people, that was not linked at all. There was no mention of that, at least in the open, except you have another information that we do not have, but that was not done. And I don't know if we can link the meeting that they held, at least have proof to link that meeting with what has been playing out now. As much as we know, there are protocols to seeing the president and all of that. So yes, we appreciate the position and the points being made, but also to lay the fact out there so people can approach this and find a solution, because clearly the issues are with the constitutional provisions which the president relied on to declare the state of emergency and suspend the governor and the House of Assembly. You've talked about the sole administrator which was put on, saying that it's from a different state. Some had argued that, well, they had tried to get people from the state to intervene. So maybe this is a way to get someone who is detached. So it's not seen as this person is either on the side of the governor or on the side of the FCT minister, as the case may be. But, Madam Enobi, we've talked about this when courts make decisions and it overrides the decisions of the voters. So people go out to vote and the court says, no, the person you voted for didn't win in that sense. We think this person won. And these are issues we have raised time and again. Mr. Shore earlier on said that, well, this is primarily a problem of elections, really. People choosing who they want to vote. But don't forget, he also said that some election abracadabra was done to bring in Mr. Fubara. So for you, does this also go back to that point where two men sat down and had a discussion which we were not privy to, and we're all at the receiving end right now? Is that something we should now look out for next time and say, no, what conversation did you people have? So in the future, we won't have rivers in our hands yet again.
I think if I heard you correctly, the issue of elections, you know, the 2023 general elections and the election that brought in Fubara and brought in, you know, President Tinubu, you all know what happened. You know, the election was far from free and fair, you know, and that's one of the tragedies of our time. And I think historically we need to look at the background of what we are setting up and the people who are, you know, at the playlist at this time. And if you want, I don't want to center it on Wike, because Nyesom Wike is a minister under President Tinubu. And Tinubu should have, you know, we thought that the president will use his office to talk to both of them. But you know, Rivers, even winning Rivers in terms of the presidential ticket was very, very critical. That's one of the things that Wike did. Though he comes in from another party, that he did, that is, it was a shamble of an election, because there were crystal clear winning if they want to declare the real elections. You know, we know what it is today. But everybody, these are Nigerians. Fubara is a Nigerian. Tinubu is a Nigerian. And so you may have this, whether you have stolen somebody's mandate or you won the election, you are a Nigerian. Now sit on the seat and do the job. And allow other people to also do their jobs. And so what is a crisis? Because when they say when two elephants fight, the grass is the one that suffers. The people of Rivers State are suffering. And we just keep on, you know, dilly-dallying with people as if they're human beings. One of the things that is very clear in the Constitution and also in the electoral law is the fact that if you switch, if you declare that you are no longer from a particular party, but because there is no voting, nobody's name is on the ballot box, it is a party. And so if you now declare that you don't belong to this party anymore, because that was one of the things that happened in the Rivers State Assembly. Massively, they decided that they no longer, you know, from the particular party. And automatically, if the right thing were done, is that they lose all their seats, and all their seats should have been declared vacant. And this is what some of the things happening. Even in the National Assembly today, you see people that are defecting from one place to the other. Did you win that, position by your face or your name? No, you came on the party, so you are using the party, and you are not supposed to do that. And that is very clear in the Constitution. So we have a lot of constitutional breaches that is going on. And fair and a free election is all what we need for many of us who have struggled for democracy in Nigeria. A lot of the things that we're doing, and the civil society have done massive work in terms of trying to observe elections, to be able to bring back, the reports to see how we can modernize our things.
Right,
I think because we're now backtracking and going to, the June 12th election, we just had the former president,
if I may come
or
in,
head of state of Nigeria.
My apologies if I may come in. Yes, madam, if I may come in, my apologies. So, because of time, let's also throw it to Ms. Rosemary in closing. Madam Rosemary, let's talk about what to do with godfatherism. I feel that perhaps it's not possible to take it out, but how do we manage it? The president, when he was running for the to be president, what we call the Abeokuta Declaration, he said he had had a talk with the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, that is the turn of the Southwest and is his turn, which is why we got that Emilokon. Clearly, everybody cannot debate to the effect that Wike was critical. Yes, on Wike, the FCT minister, was critical in the rise of Mr. Fubara as governor of the state. So what do we do about, because if we want to really get to the root of the matter, it's about who brought who that is causing this problem. Because the argument is you want to alter my structure, besides the issue of resource control and all of that, which is their debate, not my debate. So what do we do about political godfatherism? That is the heart of what we're dealing with today.
Okay, thank you, Geoffrey. You know that, my big auntie was saying, you ride on structures and people grow because, as a leader, you must be able to build capacity. You must be able to make leaders. And for Wike to have, chosen Fubara, who was not a politician, because Fubara has been an administrator and not a politician or conventional politician like the Wikes. But if you feel that this is the right person that should succeed your tenure, why not just giving all the support? And we also have media clips where Wike was telling everybody that cares to listen that he will not interfere in the governance system of Rivers State, because he doesn't believe in godfatherism. And here he's trying to now tell people that there are structures that he has built that Fubara should trend on those structures. I'm not sure that is the main issue that is happening in Rivers crisis. But I tell you also that Wike himself too is a product of people. People brought him to where he is today, from the days of his local government chairmanship up to when he became minister and also governor. And if you look at the trend, how it is being played, when Wike was governor of Rivers State, Amechi, who left before him, it was impossible for him to come to Rivers State. So I don't know if it's a tradition which they want to adopt in the political space. For me, I really see this thing as a disservice to the people of Rivers State. And because all the fight and everything is about the soul of Rivers people, it's about the soul of Rivers State, it's about the resources of the people. And just imagine, within 24 hours, Supreme Court said the allocation, the federal allocation to Rivers State should be halted. Just yesterday, we are also seeing on the pages of papers on the news that the allocation will be released to the sole administrator. So it is clearly a thing of, that has been, like I said, orchestrated. It has been cooked before this time. People must have to group through people. Today, I founded the Joy Women Connect, and I was president for almost 10 years. But there is always a period of transition. You will transit for others to come on board. That is how you build leaders. That's how you build structures. So for me, I don't see anything wrong in Fubara becoming a governor through the help of Wike. Wike became who he is today. Because before now, I have not heard the name Wike. I'm from Bayelsa, I'm from Ijo. I have not heard the family name Wike. It's only through Inyons of Wike that I've come to know who the Wikes are. So people must have to come through somewhere for your family to be recognized. So for me, I want to appeal to Mr. President to intervene and review the declaration he has made in Rivers State. Rivers people are like in a mourning now. Yesterday, the whole street of Rivers State was empty. Nobody could come out. That is to tell you to the effect this has cost our people. So I'm begging Mr. President, I'm using this medium to also call on the good people of this country, every citizen of goodwill, please stand up for justice, because you cannot declare a state of emergency and at the same time I will get the powers to also suspend an elected official. It is not done anywhere in the country. We should not tolerate it in this country.
And indeed, that would be a fine place to anchor. Indeed, Rivers, the politics of Rivers is a course to study. But surprisingly, we must commend the people for, the peaceful manner in which they've conducted themselves in the last 48 hours, particularly since the declaration of a state of emergency. We must thank you very much, ladies, for your time and thoughts on the program. We've been speaking with Madam NLB, former country director, Action Aid, Nigeria, and human rights activist, as well as Mrs. Rosemary John Oduene, founder, pioneer president, Ijaw Women Connect, IWC Worldwide. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
And indeed, we're still in search of peace, this time from Rivers to Ebonyi. What exactly is happening between two communities and in the last couple of decades? Join us for that conversation coming up after this break.
That's like a breather, necessary breather from Rivers politics. Yes, I know you want to take that breather, so we'll help out. We head to Ebonyi State this time to talk about governance and government in terms of the effort of the government to restore peace in the state and govern the people as much as they can. We're being joined in the program by Mr. Peter Ede. He's a former member, House of Representatives, and a public affairs analyst joining us via Zoom from Abakaliki. Mr. Ede, thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Ede, if you can hear me, thank you for coming on the program.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I can hear you now.
All right, fantastic. So let's begin with, it's almost 2 years down the line for Governor Francis Nwifuru, who took over from the Minister for Works, Dave Umahi. I want you to do perhaps a quick assessment of his effort, maybe consolidating on some of the things that his predecessor did, or some of the things he's doing right now to maintain the peace in Ebonyi State. So that gives us an overview for us to be able to ask further questions. Is that there? I don't know whether you got my question. Okay, we're hoping that Mr. Peter Ede can join us. He's a former member of the House of Representatives, public affairs analyst. We want to really dwell on some of the things that has to do with some prolonged communal clashes, or crisis, if you will, in some parts of Ebonyi State, which we want to find out exactly what efforts by the government is being put in place to ensure that whether it's been stopped or there's an avoidance of a resurgence, and look at other issues around infrastructure as well as human capital development in Ebonyi State. But especially that's focused on the Ebonyi South Senatorial District, on what is going on in places like Eda, Osunkwo, Abamuege, that has lasted for a very long time. And I know if you go to Nigeria, you look across Nigeria, sometimes you see where the situation persists as far as the issues of communal clashes are concerned. So, but let's see whether we can get back Mr. Ide. Mr. Ide, if you can hear us. Okay, guys, so as a matter of fact, you know, I have seen communal clash before. In fact, I was at the heart of it in my mother's village. I know you're not too familiar with the South, so
I try my best.
My mother's village is Ataba. So borderline between them and between the town and in River State and the Ogonis, there was this communal clash. So I was just a teenager. I just got into teenage, and when that clash happened, I think that's the closest I've seen to a war, and it's not a very good sight. It's not a good experience. That's where people hear of the word rumor. You've not been at war. People who are in the Civil War will understand rumor differently from those who have never experienced anything. So perhaps it's the reason why I want to find out further exactly what is going on in those communities. Ms. Ide, I understand we have the connection sorted. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Did you get my question when I asked, or I should just rephrase or repeat? Ms. Ide?
All right. Repeat, please.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead and repeat your question, please.
Okay, I'm saying that...
I can hear you.
I'm saying that you should x-ray the efforts. Before we get to issues of communal clashes that have lasted over a century, I'm saying you should x-ray the effort of the current administration in keeping the peace of Ebonyi State. This is almost midterm in his 4-year tenure.
Okay, thank you. Our governor, His Excellency Builder Francis Obonna Nwifuru, who took over in
all right, apparently
just after the tenure of the current Minister of Works, has performed admirably. Can you hear me? I'm getting a hello.
Yes, go ahead, please. We're listening. If you can just speak up a little bit so we can get it. Oh dear, this, we'll just take a quick break and get things sorted, and we'll be right back. Join us in just a moment.
Well, this year's World Oral Health Day has the theme, now wait for this, a happy mouth is a happy mind. It's quite interesting because it's also said that you can't have health without oral health as well. So today, which is World Oral Health Day, March the 20th, we want to talk about that all-important part of your body, the mouth, your teeth, and everything that has to do with it. And as you can see, we're joined on the program by Dr. Judith Jolayemi, consultant in restorative dentistry at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Jolayemi.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
So is it a happy World Oral Health Day? Is that how it goes?
Yes, it is a happy World Oral Health Day.
Fantastic. I think this is something that we all know, because we're conversational people, we're interactive people. We always find a way to interact. The mouth's also for eating. So whatever you do, the mouth always comes in one way or the other. But it's one of the most tricky parts of the body too. And I want to start straight up. You brush and brush and brush and brush, and you realize that at 12 noon, It's not as fresh as it ought to be. So I want us to talk about that, first of all, because it's something everybody deals with. People have found ways around it. But what is one of the reasons why people have challenges with their oral health, particularly the health of it and the freshness of it?
Yes, so basically, I always like to start by saying that the mouth is the gateway to the body.
Tell them.
So everything starts in the mouth. You talk, you eat, you interact with people. And it's also important to know that we have microorganisms everywhere. You also have in the mouth. So there are certain things that you need to take into consideration to keep these organisms in check. Sometimes, or most of the time, these organisms live with the body. Their presence in the body is beneficial. But once they remain in a particular part of the body and their presence is overwhelming to what the body can accommodate, then it becomes a problem. So most of the organisms that cause problems in the mouth are actually normally living within the body. So how do we keep them in check? I think that's what we're going to discuss today.
So let's jump right into it, because it said that a happy mouth is a happy mind. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. But walk us through what this day means and some of the points that you want people to go home with.
All right. So first, I would like to talk about the common dental issues that we have. And the first one I'll talk about is cavities, which is dental caries. Dental caries simply means you have holes in your tooth. And like I always say, holes don't just appear in the tooth. So they start very tiny, like a tiny dot. And if they are not attended to, then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Most times, these cavities are not detected, even with the natural eyes, once they start. And it doesn't grow big all of a sudden. So they develop and they get bigger over time, sometimes over years. So for you to have a hole in your tooth manifesting, you must have had that cavity for a very long time. And the symptoms may not be manifested initially, but as it goes on, it progresses to sensitivity, from sensitivity, pain, from pain, if it's not attended to, you can have swelling, and the infections can even track to the neck and even to the head. So it could lead to fatal conditions. So what I would say is, for these cavities, they are caused by microorganisms, like I said, and the microorganisms overwhelm the mouth. Once there's so much in the mouth, then they now start to attack the tooth. There are so many things that cause these organisms. The kind of food you eat, if you eat a lot of refined foods, you take a lot of refined sugars, you snack frequently without taking precautions, these organisms come in and attack the food. They eat the food because that is how they survive. So they eat on the food, and when they eat the food, they release their I'll use the word, their byproducts in the mouth. And these byproducts are majorly acid. And what does acid do? Acid destroys anything that comes in its way. So these little acids here and there destroy the tooth gradually to create a cavity. And once there's a cavity, the organisms fill into the cavity. Even your brush cannot get them out because they are tucked in the cavity. And then, you know, more acid, more food, more acid, and it keeps getting bigger. So
let's get to the basics. Those the one they taught us when we were really young. How to brush.
Yes.
So walk us through how to brush.
Yes.
For those who are 55, 45, 35.
No, 5.
Yes, we're dragging everybody to this table.
So,
we always tell the children, do it like this.
Yes.
Teach adults how to brush.
So basically, the mouth is a peculiar place. You have the gums, you have teeth, you have tongue, you have the palate. So there are so many things in the mouth. And when you brush too, the brushing technique also matters. So when you're brushing, you're always advised to brush away from your teeth. So this is a model. This is not the ideal, this is a pathology model. So it has a lot of cavities and all of that.
I love it. I love
which
it.
I wanted, I intentionally brought this so that you can all see that. So when you're brushing your teeth, you brush away from your gums. So this is the lower mouth, the lower jaw, and this is the upper. So you brush against your gums into your mouth. Now, a lot of people go in the horizontal.
Oh, I get it.
And when you do that, the teeth and the gums are not the same quality of material. So when you do that, what you do is you traumatize the gums. The gums, trying to avoid your harsh trauma recede away from the teeth. So the part of the tooth that is not supposed to be exposed is exposed, which is the roots. And once they get exposed, you are exposed to sensitivity.
I think it's only you and 3 others that are doing this thing right in the world.
Every other person is brushing like they're washing rock.
Well, I always knew that that's how you should brush.
Well, I don't gaslight us. Please continue.
So you brush away from your gums into your mouth.
Okay.
And then you do that on the outside. It takes a little time, but it's more painstaking. And you notice that when you do that, the bristles of your brush would go in between your teeth and sweep all that part out, as opposed to when you go this way. So all you just do is traumatize your gums, traumatize your teeth, and tuck in more organisms in between your teeth. So you do that for both the upper, the lower, and then don't always forget to do it inside too at the same time. So once you do that up as well. And then always remember that you have the rough surfaces of your teeth where you chew, especially at the back. So you always remember to also take care of that. Also, one of the parts of the mouth that actually causes a lot of bad breath could be the tongue.
Right.
The tongue is very, corrugated and all that. So it could harbor food, spicy foods and all of that, your garlic. So you should also remember to brush your tongue as well. We also have tongue scrapers. We use tongue scrapers sometimes to take care of the tongue. And that will help you with cavities and also help prevent gum diseases. Gum diseases is also very common in this part of the world, and you can easily identify gum diseases even by yourself.
Well, you've pretty much entered another part of the conversation, which is just as important, the tongue. It's not, a happy mouth is not a tongue that, emits bad odor. So some say that the toothbrush and the toothpaste intervention is inadequate to take care of bad odor. Should we also subscribe to herbal interventions? There are a lot of herbal recommendations to address bad odor. Are they, okay?
Well, for herbal medicaments, or how would you put it, I wouldn't always strongly advocate that, because we also advocate that you use fluoride-containing dentifrices for your mouth, because even though you have these organisms in your mouth, these fluorides could help to keep them in check. For these herbal products, we can't really guarantee their content, what they have, the percentage of whatever content it is. So one has to be very cautious when you're using herbal supplements. The appropriate thing is to use a fluoride-containing toothpaste. So even while you're carrying out your daily activities, your mouth is always, being defended by the fluoride, taking care of those organisms and putting them in check.
All right. There are a lot of people who are new to how to brush properly this morning. So there's an advocacy for you to also put us through how to scrub the tongue. Right. So let us see that as well.
Scrubbing your tongue, we have tongue scrapers, so you just, you just scrub it from the in to the out. That's all.
So
just if you
in, out.
Yes.
Is it, what is shocking all of us is direction now.
Yes. So it's your tongue, and then you just, you scrape it out. That's all.
But not every day. You can use a brush to
I
clean the
personally
tongue
I don't personally use tongue scrapers.
Right.
I
So you
just
can use
my,
the brush, right? The same way. Just
the same way.
brush
Just
it out.
brush it out.
But the tongue scrapers also help to deal with bad odor.
It just helps to clean your tongue better.
Basically.
Yes.
Two things I want you to touch on. One, fluoride. You'd mentioned fluoride and toothpaste, right? And we know that when people use toothpaste, they use it generously, almost like they're buttering bread. So they hold it and then they press it all the way.
What even cause matrimonial problems?
Right? Where do you press the
Not
toothpaste
from?
So what amount of fluoride? Because fluoride, yes, generally safe if it's used in small amounts, but if you use too much, it can also cause issues to the same mouth that you're trying to care for, right?
Especially in the young, in the children.
Exactly. So what amount should we use? One. Two, is all of the mouth odor, how do I put this? Is the mouth responsible for all of the mouth odor, or some come from the gut as well?
Okay. So for the amount of toothpaste you're supposed to use, for an adult, it's pea size. That's the size of a bean.
So it should be like half the brush?
Or even less.
Less.
Yes. So most of the time when you swipe your toothbrush, you use a week's worth.
No, some people put it on the brush, they put it on their hands.
There's something in the psyche that says, no, it's not enough to clean my mouth.
It's not really...
So contextualize, we're Africans, so let's begin from there.
Yes, so the truth of the matter is, it is the mechanical action of your brushing that cleans your teeth.
Okay.
So the toothpaste just, provides a more comfortable medium for you with the fluoride, and then the foam and all of that. But even if you put your toothpaste in your mouth without having that mechanical means something is disrupting those organisms. Plaque accumulates over your teeth over time when you don't talk, when you're asleep at night, when your mouth is not active. I'm talking now, saliva is, moving around and cleansing my mouth naturally. But when you're quiet, you're fasting, you're sleeping, your mouth is stagnant, just like a stagnant water. That's what breeds mosquitoes. A moving water would never breed mosquito larvae. The same thing in your mouth. So once your mouth is not active, these organisms come out and they accumulate. The only way you can get rid of them is by mechanically getting them off. So it's not about the toothpaste. It's about your mechanical action, which is the brushing. Okay?
Yeah, and the other part about where is it just the mouth that the odor comes from, or from the gut as well?
So mouth odors could come from various factors. You have the local factors and you have the systemic factors. So for the local factors, the things you take, your garlic and all of that, your spicy foods, and then you also have some physiologic factors, especially when you wake up in the morning, the first early morning breath and all of that. We also have some systemic conditions like the gastroesophageal diseases and all of that that manifest from within, and then the doctor or the dentist can identify such conditions by just your bad breath, and then you can now investigate it and treat those conditions. Once those conditions are sorted out, then the bad breath is taken care of.
And a happy mouth is a happy mind. In fact, a happy mouth is a happy surrounding, because people will be happy to converse with you. Thank you for walking us through. You wanted to make a quick
I wanted to make a quick one, and that's about the gums. Yes, bleeding gums. Once you have bleeding gums, it means your gums are not healthy. You need to see the dentist twice a year.
There you go.
To have scaling and polishing. That's the only way your gums are healthy, because in between your gums, there are some areas where your teeth will not even get to. You have tiny pockets, and no matter how you brush, your brush will not get there.
We're totally out of time, Dr. Jolayemi. We can go on and on about this, but we have to thank you so much, Dr. Judith Jolayemi, consultant in restorative dentistry, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Happy World Oral Health Day.
I wish you the same, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're welcome, by the way. So we hope to see you brush better and use your toothpaste less. We'll take a quick break now. When we return, there's more for you. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So time now to explore the creative space, and this has a unique slant to it, as we've told you earlier. It's about visual art and female representation. And joining us on this particular segment is Mariam Megida. She's the president of Female Artists in Nigeria, and she's looking beautiful in her unique attire from our Abuja studio. Hello, Mariam. It's good to see you.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. So it seems unexplored territory. We know that there are artists, visual artists, and artists in many different genres of the art world, but you're advocating female representation in visual artistry. It seems unexplored territory as far as art is concerned. Tell us about your work in that regard.
Okay. First of all, being a female in a male-dominated craft, it's a privilege, and I've tried so hard to show women and girls, especially from northern Nigeria, that they can break this barrier and they can pursue whatever talent they have, even if it's not in the art and craft industry. So most of my works are near naturalism. Some are cityscapes and some are just abstract. But recently I developed a style of incorporating the Ajami manuscript which was once used in the northern Nigeria before colonialism for writing poems and books. So I incorporate it in my style because I am advocating for Almajiri reformation, the Almajiri learning reformation, because I feel most of the difficulty they have is understanding English. And if these kids will be taught using their native language, which is using the Hausa and the Ajami manuscript, it will be easier for them and it will reform the educational system in the North and will have lesser out-of-school children. Apart from that, I use culturally inclined fabrics to represent culture because I'm all about preservation. I majored in art history, so I love the fact that we have to preserve our culture and tradition. So I use culturally inclined fabrics. I incorporate them and make like elongated earrings to symbolize beauty of the African woman and ornamentation of the African woman. At the same time, show how the African woman is resilient, how she can carry these heavy burdens and still function fully as a mother, as a daughter, as a director, or whatever position she's in. Mostly, I love to advocate for northern Nigeria because it's a part of Nigeria where art is really not valued. So I try as much as possible to depict the Durbar Festival, our culture, and also talk about history and teach the society all about our history, apart from the preservation. I mentioned about the Ajami. I also go way back, history, the Sokoto Caliphate. I like to express the importance of Usman Danfodio, his daughter, they really advocated for education for women and the expansion of the Hausa states. Also, there's a history of Jangwarzo, who was like a godfather to Usman Danfodio. A lot of that, all about preserving history, communicating what's best for the society, advocating for women.
All right, Mariam, I'm looking at your work, your illustrations, and they are quite beautiful. But I noticed something. You like brilliant and bright colors. Is there a reason for that? And we're going to speak to some of those pictures, your paintings that you've done, or the drawings that you've done. But I noticed you like bright colors. Is there a reason for that, and why?
Yes, because it represents my personality. I'm a really bright, open person. I'm highly optimistic and I'm positive. So representing these colors are like my inner self and wanting positivity in the society. Most times I use bright yellow, I use pink a lot, I use purple, I use a lot of blue, and also I do paintings of cityscapes. I represent Keke Napeps, and in those landscapes, I make sure those colors are really bright and pastel, which is trying to depict how I want a positive society for the low-privileged people in the society, which is why I use the Keke Napep, because most people that use the Keke Napep and those that drive it are like really less privileged people. So the bright colors indicate how I want a better society for them, better economy, better road, good schools, good hospitals for these people.
You know, your work is really interesting, and you're the second or third artist from the North who is using their arts to document a northern culture. The other lady we spoke with a few weeks earlier is also documenting a Hausa form of makeup, fabric production. And it appears as if there's increasingly, or there's decreasing low interest as far as the preservation of ancient cultural practices are concerned. Are you worried that we're losing the museum culture? And how best, can what you're doing be preserved for, generations to come, such that they see, how, their ancestors lived their lives?
Okay. Yes, of course, I'm really worried. First of all, it started from westernization. After the colonialism, we were really, Nigerians and Africans were really invested in their art and craft. But after westernization, we were tilted towards doing more of Western. Okay, in the art world, for instance, we did a lot of sculptures, bronze works, but after Westernization, these works were perceived as like fetish, idolism, and then so we left it apart, and then we incorporated more of the Western part of the art. And then these artifacts, these are works that we neglected, are what's sitting currently in different museums around the world. So what we need to preserve is our language, our dressing, even our tribal marks are as important. They are part of our art. Our traditional architectural buildings, like I'm going to use example of the Igbo huts. There are these motifs we found on the buildings, which are called Uliism. These symbols, these are signs and symbols that have meanings from our African ancestors. Some of them are symbols of traditional medicine. Some of them, like the lizard, is like agent of surveillance. There are 2 lines or 3 lines that symbolizes family and farming. I think these are things that gives us value. These are things that people from out of the world want to see, not adapting to the Western culture. Like, we have to retain our originality. That's what makes us unique from our dressing, the agbada, the dorba, horsemanship, those beautiful, colorful attires we wear, from adorning the horses, and also the yam festivals. There are so many things that are really beautiful. And the more we advance them, the more we have people have interest, and the more it gains more value. And the more it has value, the more our economic, it yields a financial benefit to it. For instance, I'm using my art, I'm selling my Dober paintings, I'm selling my works that have to do with signs and motifs, and they are selling well. Imagine if there are other artists, they are mined out of these African treasures. It will be a great boost for our economy as well.
You know, seeing you speak, and then right next to you, your art is, being previewed. It's just really beautiful. Almost like this segment is some sort of art exhibition. You as a person, and then your work as well. And I'm really interested in your process, right? For some people, they have to lock themselves up just to get the idea. Some, they thrive in chaos. For some people, it is music. So, different people have their different ways of creating. What is your own process like? How does it start? And when is that point you know that, hey, I'm onto something big?
Okay, so my process starts early morning, very early in the morning. That's when my brain is usually really fresh. And I go to my canvas and I just start sketching. That's one of my process, maybe when I'm doing an abstract. Then secondly, I might want to talk about something in the society, communicate an event, or try to provide a solution towards a problem. Then it will have me thinking about, okay, what should I use? Should I use figures? Should I use landscape? What's the best medium for me to use to communicate this? Then secondly is research. I have to do a lot of reading and learning. For instance, I had to read about most of the Hausa kingdoms, the Gobir, till the emergence of the Sokoto Caliphate. I had to read about most of the emirs. I have to read about most of poems of Nana Asma Odomfodio in order to paint a particular painting that has to do with education and empowering women in the North. So after that research, then the process of the painting continues. But then you can get stuck along the way, and getting back might be difficult. But I don't use music. I hardly use music. Silence is better for me. I don't like hearing any sound, because I feel if I get used to using music or any other thing, then it will be addictive. So it's just really cool.
You know what, Mariam?
Really silent background. And then early in the morning, there are these bird sounds, just cool, calm nature. I love it. It makes my brain just open and just...
Your silence is indeed very colorful and has very compelling outcomes. So maintain that silence.
Thank you for giving the birds credit. They don't get a lot of credit.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Mariam Megida, president of Female Artists in Nigeria and a very creative visual artist. Thank you so much for your time, Mariam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we're not done with our offerings this morning on the show. Right now it's time to take you through what you're saying about the big issues. And we're going to Kogi Central this morning, where it appears constituents, Central Senatorial District, yes, where constituents have begun the recall process for the senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And what have you been saying about this turn of events? But first of all, let's take the actuality.
So that's a visual of the said recall, but we also have some excerpts about what people are saying. So this is the recall process. It's constitutional to recall a lawmaker, but some persons are also alluded to the fact that, or allege that they were deceived into the recall, which is why there's a controversy. They said they were told to come and take palliatives, but then now started asking for voter card, their voter card number and all of that. That's when they were a bit worried about what this is really all about. Is this about welfare or something else? So we don't know who to believe. Anyway, so that is the story out there.
I don't think any recall process has ever succeeded in the country, but this is the farthest I've seen people actually go. Yeah. Whether or not they know what they're doing. We heard some of them speak as well, say, I think I heard a woman say, well, we didn't elect her to go and fight in the National Assembly. And, you know, it's very, very interesting that it's a woman that is saying that. By the way, the senator has been outside of the country granting interviews while all of this is happening. So it's just a very...
And it's surprising because we look at the bulk of these constituents lined up in this queue. Most of them are women.
So if we go down to the lines and ask you, why are you here? Do some of them really know why they're standing
Do they know what a recall process means and what it entails? So are they aware of the full implications of what they're doing? Yeah. They've been asked to come and this is, you know, rather surprising because there was no, you know, preparation for this. Was their mind prepared? Did anybody champion?
So that's the story going out there, that they were told that they should come and collect palliative. They were told to come and collect palliative. That is the other version of the story. Told to collect palliative, and then they were not asking for voter card number. That's when some of them began suspecting that this is not about palliative and all of that. Anyway, let's leave the Kogi Central to the Abuja fire. Kai, they have all this detail, all right?
Yeah, it was said that an articulated vehicle that runs on CNG lost control, hit some cars, and the CNG canisters or the cylinders, you know, you always see them behind those trucks, about 6 or so, got damaged, and boom, the CNG went into the air. And you know, with gas, you can't see it. You only know when you see the fire, right? You can't see it like petrol. And that's what's said to have happened. 6 people so far lost their lives, 14 vehicles burned, and you had a lot of people putting their lives at risk just to capture videos. Really, it's saddening, and they see the aftermath of that. This user, Uche Igwe, by the way, this is around the Yaya Karu axis of the nation's capital. But let's take comments, if we can, as quickly. This user, Uche Igwe, says, what is really going on? Please, they should not take us to the days of bombing across the country. So this was earlier on when people thought it was bombing, but no, it's not a bombing, neither is it a petrol tanker. It's an articulated vehicle running on CNG that had that accident, and the CNG caused this.
Jeffrey, you have the next one.
Okay, I'm trying to get to that next one.
Akinwale says the Kubo mechanic section of the Karunyanya axis is such that the road slopes sharply, and most long trucks find it difficult to apply brakes. The loaded tanker must have faced the same situation and just rammed into smaller vehicles ahead of it, causing a heavy explosion. That's an insight into what actually happened.
Otedola Bridge in Lagos meets the Karunyanya Access Bridge in Abuja. Because it's almost the same scenario. So we need to rethink, or at least do some more sensitization. I know we can't keep having these events.
No, we need to reconsider transportation of cargo on roads.
For me, please, when there's gas explosion, run, don't walk. run. If you can fly, if it's possible, please fly. It's worse than PMS. Please run. But that's it on the program. Thank you for your time. And of course, your usual company, Sunrise Daily, is up at the top of the hour. Bye-bye.
We'll be back with the home stretch tomorrow, same time. Don't miss it. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Kijilo. Don't forget, a happy mouth is a happy mind. So let's brush right, starting from today. Goodbye.